So in the Rhino video series now we start to look at precision, and in SolidWorks that is going to be totally different. And that is because SolidWorks is a parametric modeling package, and you're going to get right into the bowels of that today. We're going to look at the top plane and click on, under the Sketch tab, we're going to click the Sketch tool, and that will put us into kind of a top view here with a red origin in the center of our sketch, and you can see our sketch exit buttons are up here, which tells us we are in a sketch. Now, parametric tools have parameters that drive them. That is a way of building intelligence into your model. So when I draw a rectangle here, this is more than just a rectangle. It's more than just four lines floating in space. If I drag any one of them, this thing acts like a rectangle. And that's because it is constrained to be one. These four green boxes represent constraints on our geometry. If I didn't have these, I'll just go around and delete them, and then I were to drag one of these points, then these lines just act however they want to, based on how I drag it. Whoops, wrong button. If I undo that and put those constraints back, then suddenly dragging these points makes this thing stay like a rectangle, and that's because these are horizontal and vertical constraints, respectively. So this constraint says this line must always be vertical at all times, no matter what. And this constraint says that this curve, this horizontal line, must always be horizontal, no matter what. Those constraints are a form of parameter. We can also put dimensional parameters on something. So up here we have a smart dimension. We can click on one line and the other line and make that, say, 80 millimeters. So now I'm able to drag this point up and down to make the box taller and shorter, but no matter what I do, it will never be wider or narrower than 80 millimeters, because I have defined it to be 80 millimeters from this line to that line. I could also set, now what would happen if I deleted, say, these horizontal constraints, but not the vertical ones? Well, no matter what I do, these two curves stay a certain distance from one another. They stay parallel to one another, but I can change the other two. If I deleted these, now if I drag this point, you'll see that these curves, these side lines, they'll stay 80 millimeters apart from one another, but they don't have to be vertical anymore. They can be, as long as they're parallel and 80 millimeters apart, it's all good as far as SolidWorks is concerned. Now I could add an angular constraint, because these two aren't parallel. If I click on each of them, then it'll give me an angular constraint, so I can make those 45 degrees. So now, no matter what I do, these two curves will be 45 degrees apart from one another. I could make it so that this one is horizontal by clicking on the line, and then over here it says under Add Relations, it gives me a list of all the possible relations that I could put on my selection. In this case, I've only got a line selected, so if I hit horizontal, there we go, now that's stuck horizontal. And now the movements that we do deal with these parameters only. So you're with me so far, I guess. Now I can add another dimension here, make that 100 degrees. Oops. And now when I drag it, all it's doing is dragging in one direction. I could set a length for this curve, make that 40. Now when I drag, all I can do is just move it, the whole thing. I can't really do anything but move it. It's constrained. So now if I take this and click on our origin, then I could click midpoint constraint, and now the whole thing turns black. The whole thing turned black because no matter what I do, I cannot drag this anywhere. It is fully constrained. If I add any more constraints on this shape, then it will be confused. So if I add, say, an angular constraint between there and there, that's 80 degrees. Now it says, uh-oh, make dimension driven or driving. Basically what this is saying is, you have too many constraints on this. I can't do all of these at once. Let me show you a clearer example of that. We'll select all of this and delete it. Let's draw a rectangle. Now, this line is said to be vertical, has to be vertical. It can't be anything but vertical. This one, same thing, horizontal. Now if I add a dimension between these two curves and make it, well, in this case, it just says, what do you want me to do here? These are 90 by definition. One's horizontal and one's vertical. They're going to be 90. So if you add a parameter here, I'm not going to know which to do. So if I say make this driving, click OK, then it's going to leave everything yellow and say there's something wrong here, and we don't know. The sketcher doesn't know what to do. You know, I want to set this to be some angle, but then these are already by default some angle. So all I have to do is delete, you know, one of those constraints, and then everything goes back to being happy again. So basically, that's how this works. So what if I drew a rectangle and drew a line within my rectangle and another line? And we could say take this line and the origin point and click midpoint. So now that line is stuck and it turns black because it's not going to move anywhere. It's stuck there on that midpoint. I could put a dimension here, make that 100. I could put a dimension here, make that 80. And one more here, that's 15. So now, if I change this 100 length to say 90 or 50, nothing happens, right? I mean, it changes that length, which makes sense. Now, if I change this length here, then this one is updated, right? This one stays 15, but it moves over. I could change this to 30, and it moves out because, you know, we're building out our dimensions. So these dimensions all affect one another. Everything in this sketch is related to everything else in the sketch. Make that 60. Now everything is black, and nothing that we do will move any of this because it's all fully constrained. But I can always change these dimensions to anything I want, and everything updates. So that's how we do basic constraints in SolidWorks. I keep forgetting this is a new feature, brand new feature. If you right-click in the viewport, then you can choose, there's a little pie menu that lets you choose some common tools really quickly. I'm just not used to that. Next video we will look a little bit more into how to actually use this knowledge.